Charles Miller joins us now. He, of course, has Scenic City Neurotherapy. Good to see you this morning.
It's good to be here.
I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to toss out the initial part of our conversation, so I'm going to go back a day.
Okay.
Yesterday, we were in the office, and a group of us was talking. And we just got talking about life and just the different roads it can take you down and ups and downs of life and times where you find yourself really feeling not so good, and then you find a way to kind of rise above it. Everybody has those moments, I think, where they're kind of down here and they want to be up here. And the conversation that we ended up having was, how do you get yourself out of the rut? And not everyone's rut is the same.
That's very true.
So you're seeing that at Scenic City Neurotherapy because people come to you all throughout the week with their own particular, I'll just keep on using the word rut. It's much more than that, and I know it. But you look at them as individual people and kind of tailor a protocol for them to quickly feel better. Is that a key word?
Absolutely, to kind of get things caught back up, to get us back to baseline. Now, everything's not always perfect. We don't make problems go away. We enhance your ability to do the hard. We enhance your ability to take on new challenges and to be the best version of yourself as you go through the normal trials of life.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you there because that actually was part of our conversation yesterday, that it's hard. And so when people are prepared to tackle it, they are to be commended.
Yes.
It's a very brave step to take.
It absolutely is. It is not easy. You know, I tell patients the hardest part's just getting through the door. You know, patients go through so much before they actually, will actually reach out for help. And so catching people earlier in the process, letting them know that, hey, it's okay not to feel okay. It's okay to struggle with these things, but realize that if something feels harder than it should, it's not that you're weak, it's that your ability to process stress, your ability to function has diminished. And it's an actual mappable, measurable neurologic issue that we understand so much better now than we used to. It isn't a thinking problem. If this was a thinking problem, they'd have thought their way out of it. It's similar to what we see with a traumatic brain injury. But instead of being induced by something hitting them in the head, it was induced by prolonged periods of heightened stress or traumatic experiences or...
So I kind of wanted to intentionally reference this conversation yesterday where I said it was about life, because I feel like if we talk specifically about depression or anxiety, people will think it's only that you treat.
Oh, no.
And it's not that. It's life that you help people with.
It's the ability to process and function optimally. What we do is essentially brain health. I use the term brain health a lot because when we say mental health, people automatically think, oh, well, I don't have mental health issues. But I do struggle to get through my day. I do feel that things that were once much lighter on me feel much heavier now. And so the whole goal of what we do enhances that psychological stamina to where you're better able to do the hard, because hard is not inherently bad. Hard things are how we grow and how we build. And so adding hard into our day shouldn't be this big overwhelming thing. But if it's starting to become that, then we have a problem developing.
Something else that came with this conversation was that reference to hard, and that it's in those hard times of life that you find growth. So that if you can just help people get past it, they can look back on the hard moment and experience that growth, but you have to help them get through it. Right.
And it's, like I say all the time, and I said just a few minutes ago, if they could think their way through it, they would have by now. This is not a thinking problem. Usually it's secondary to being in the right place at the wrong time or being stuck in a situation that created prolonged periods of heightened stress. We now understand that prolonged periods of heightened stress actually break down physical connections in the brain. We can use special types of imaging to map it and see it now and watch it occur. And so knowing that, the idea of keeping your head down and just pushing through things has always been something that we've looked at as commendable, but at the end of the day, we're actually hurting ourselves.
Okay, so let's talk now about what happens in the office. I mentioned that these people come in during the week and they all get their own customizable thing. Some of what you do is ketamine. Really,
Ketamine
a lot of
infusion
what you
therapy.
do is ketamine infusion.
It's a big piece.
But then there's also something called TMS. And I'll let you explain that. And you were telling me that some of that you have like an insurance component to it, I think is what I heard you say.
So when we first offered ketamine infusion therapy in 2019, It's an off-label use of very old anesthetics to stimulate brain growth, and it can function as a mental health treatment. It can be used to treat traumatic brain injuries, stroke recovery, chronic pain conditions. It has multiple uses depending on how we administer it. But it is primarily an out-of-pocket treatment. But there are other therapies that are label uses of that specific modality, like with transcranial magnetic stimulation, that we are in network with insurance for and can just bill the old-fashioned way, actually through your health insurance. And so we brought TMS into our program, and we've also one of the few places nationally that offer what's the Stanford Neuromodulation Therapy, which is a accelerated deep brain TMS, which is a more effective modality than even the classical TMS. Both modalities are still twice as effective as any antidepressant we've ever had.
Repeat what you just said. You're one of the few places nationally. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah. It's because the protocols are difficult for offices to maintain. We're open 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, and so because we're open and we have patients coming and going all day, 6 days a week, we can actually work out these protocols because the S&T protocol requires a 10-hour for a day, 5-day a week commitment.
I think it's a, I'll try to be careful how I say this, but if you've ever struggled with anything, it can take a long time to get to the healing you're seeking. And then somebody comes along and says, well, why don't you try this? And it almost sounds too good to believe. And that's got to be difficult for you sometimes because you so believe in this and that people can really jumpstart this process.
I think it's comforting. I don't have to believe. That's what I say with science, belief doesn't play a role.
Oh, I like that.
It's mappable, measurable, statistical hard data. There's no, oh, I feel or I think. That's if somebody says that to you in the medical field especially, you need to be cautious.
So if people come to you, is there initial consultation with you free?
It is. It costs nothing to come sit down with me and you'll sit down for about an hour, so plan on at least 60 minutes.
To get that hard scientific data
Well,
that
it's
you
like
can share.
we want to make sure questions are answered. We want to make sure the patient understands what this treatment can do, what it can't do, and what our actual goals for this process are, because they're the scientist and the science experiment. They're the piece that's changing, but they're the only one that defines what that goal is. And so making sure that everybody's on the same page moving forward is very important. And so we don't charge for that piece because we want to make sure we're all can get to where we want to go.
Well, I'll go back to my conversation yesterday, how there was a group of about 6 to 8 people at any given time, and everybody in the conversation had their own story to tell of how they've gone through their own time in life. So everybody watching probably has the same thing, which means you could have a very long line at your door. Here's where you'll find them at Scenic City Neurotherapy on Shallowford Road, 228-0579. You can find out more at their website, sceniccityneuroTherapy.com. Heading into the holidays, a great time to be talking. Thanks.